I feel very, very strongly about that. Why is it a women's issue? And there are several reasons. Let's start with what I mentioned before about the life course, about the fact that when a child is born, the possibility of that child developing NCDs later on in life is very high. So from the beginning, the woman as the mother has an important role to play, because that offspring and the quality of the offspring, much of which depends on the mother, is going to be important in terms of developing NCDs later on. That's number one. And of course, the care of the child and the care of the child up through adolescence into adulthood issue is not exclusively, but a large part is played by women, number one. Secondly, in terms of the disease burden, more than half of the disease burden in developing countries is borne by women is due to NCDs. When people think it is a male disease, not true. It is a tremendous burden on women. Third, there's a differential exposure to risks in terms of NCDs. One of the risk factors we know very well, obesity. We know that women are more prone to obesity than males. We can discuss why. It's an interesting reasoning why, but more women become more obese, and that obesity progresses throughout the life course, and we've seen over the years progressive rise in obesity rates in women. And we know that obesity predisposes to some of the non-communicable diseases. Therefore, we know that more women are diabetic than men. So in that sense, from birth through the caring for the child, the burden of NCDs in developing countries, and in fact, the occurrence of NCDs in terms, occurrence of the risk factors for NCDs, there's a differential between men and women. And there's another aspect which I mentioned that sometimes is seen as comical, but I don't think it is. I think the fact that men die earlier and leave women with a longer period of widowhood is not to be discounted. And they often leave women as widows at a time when they are most vulnerable, both socially and economically. And that is, people don't think that's important. I think it is, that we should be conscious of the early death of males from NCDs and the impact it has on women. The last point I would mention is much of the care of the chronically ill from any cause falls on women. So NCDs, which will represent a large burden of chronic care, will imply a tremendous social burden for women. So for all of these reasons, I think we would like to engage not only women and men, and about thinking of these gender aspects of NCDs.